Welcome to Gender A Wider Lens, exclusive content for our listener community.
In these bonus episodes, we're going to dive even deeper into the issues surrounding gender in today's culture. Some weeks we'll respond to listener Q&As.
And we'll also be introducing a series called Dinner Party Conversations. And here we start grappling with the difficult question, such as how do we talk to people in real life about gender? And we also dive a bit deeper into topics that we touched on in the full episode.
Here is the bonus conversation. All right, so then how do you talk about this in real life? Now, I'm guessing most people in real life already know because you're so well known in this. I mean, you were well known before and now you're well known for this, but have you found any effective ways of helping people understand the quagmire, which is gender?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm in an interesting position because when people who are not in the world speak to me about it, they always do so in a very accusatory way. And they basically throw a series of problems they have. Basically, everything's always about my conduct. Don't you think you could, you say this, you say that. So what I found recently, and this is probably something that won't work for anyone else, is that I simply keep trying to return them to the issues, and the issues are mass misdiagnosis of kids as trans, the nebulousness of some of the terms around this issue, non-binary and trans, and the kind of incoherence of it, and the targeting of people who speak up about it. So I recently just did an interview. I was kind of telling you about it earlier, but I recently did an interview, and that's all I did. Yeah. Every time they tried to make it about my, as I say, when I point to things and people look at my finger, I just kept directing their gaze to the thing I was pointing at. I don't know, maybe there's versions of that people can apply to their lives. But for me, with my weird position, I think that's the approach I'm going to take now, just to try and remind people we're talking about kids. We're talking about irreversible damage. We're talking about silencing of women and the chilling of free speech. These are huge issues. So I think I'm just going to try and become less angry when people start talking about my behavior, and just try and redirect people to what this is all about,
Yeah.
I do think that the bringing up the children and sports are the two kind of most impactful ways to talk about gender. I do think.
Yeah, no one cares about women or lesbians, but kids they actually do care about. And I think that in America, it seems to me, Sasha, you might disagree or agree. It seems to me that the real kind of wave under the fight back. Sorry, I'm tired, so I'm mixing up my metaphors. But the kind of wind in our wings has been the way they've been coming after children, and the way they're trying to confuse children and to introduce concepts into their head that are sometimes very poisonous and dangerous. I think it seems like that's actually having an effect in America now. I think. And Ron DeSantis, I think Ron DeSantis has just had a big victory to do with sports, So, why should all these girls have their dreams taken away because men are in their sports, So yeah, you're right, Stella. I think children is the way to go, They it's been 5 years trying to make people worry about women's rights, but no one seems to care.
In fairness, I don't know whether you're right there. I don't know if I agree with you, because when you say no one cares about women, well, 51% of people are women.
I know, but you know yourself, a lot of the stuff in this fight comes from women. Like I used to, one thing that used to happen to me was I would speak to these very powerful men who were like CEOs of businesses and so on. And they would say, I'll say the same thing to me. They would say, my wife says it's not a problem. And so they're kind of outsourcing their opinions on it to their very privileged wives who will never need a rape crisis shelter, God willing, or any kind of shelter, and they don't think there's a problem, And they have friends as well whose daughter or son says they're non-binary and they don't want to alienate them. So, women have been driving a lot of this, unfortunately.
And I also think that, at least here in the U.S., this is so polarizing. Like Ron DeSantis is a very polarizing figure, for example. And I do think that the way this argument is presented from both sides kind of hijacks, if there's such a thing as a feminine, nurturing, child protective instinct, it hijacks it on both sides, because you have trans activists also saying, protect trans kids. This is life-saving. How dare you deny health care to children? And of course, if you take those arguments on surface value, that is going to really shore up any, nurturing motherhood instinct to protect children. So it's very interesting to see the way this has kind of hijacked our emotional responses, regardless of which side of the debate you happen to fall on. It's so mind-boggling.
Yeah,
it's fascinating, isn't it? And I think that it's the desire for women to be kind in this issue is to their credit. But as you say, I think it's been hijacked.
Wow.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's so like a vulnerability that's been
misused.
Or hacked.
Hacked, exploited, and hacked. So then your position is typically just defending your own conduct, as you said.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be now, But like, as I say to people, sometimes I try to get this across when I get a very negative interview or a very kind of accusatory interview. I try and get it across to people. There have been 75 plus hit pieces written about me in Pink News.
God.
That's
Pink News alone?
Yeah,
Wow.
And so people have got to kind of appreciate that is going to have an effect on someone's view of someone, even if you don't read Pink News. Yeah. So I'm just trying to get it across to people.
Didn't somebody like Stalin say, quantity has a quality of its own?
Oh, that's interesting. Gosh, he knew his onions, didn't he?
It was somebody like Stalin. I don't know if it was definitely somebody big hardline, but like it's such a good point. The quantity is really what you're up against. I remember when those hit pieces first started coming, and me and you would be talking, and it was this kind of panicky kind of, but that's not true, and the Guardian have printed it, and it's a lie, and it feels like the world is kind of upside down when whatever about Pink News, but also the Guardian and other papers are publishing things that aren't true. Yeah. It's a frightening feeling.
Yeah. And people would ring me and they'd say, Total Film, which is a magazine just about movies, and they say, they call you a bigot in that. I'm like, what? In Total Film? Yeah. And then you just get this kind of, you have to eventually accept that. Gosh, it's so funny. I used to get so angry when people would write something about me and it wasn't true. And now I just have to let it wash over me, There's no, what can I do? I do trust, though, that, my actions will eventually speak for themselves. And, I await the judgment of history with confidence.
That's a really great attitude to have. Well, we also know that there are many people that aren't nearly as high profile as you are, but I just had a conversation with a therapist the other day who lost a client because the client read some, that transgender mapper by Andrea James website, read an article about this therapist and got very upset. And so lots of us are experiencing this on a smaller scale. So it's really nice to hear the way you have dealt with it personally, because we're all kind of sharing this common experience, which is really, it's so disheartening, especially when you stick your neck out there to try to do what you believe is the right thing after, like you said, looking into it, making sure we're not missing anything. I feel really confident about what we're saying. So thank you for kind of putting yourself out there and for just standing firm regardless of what people say, because
and and thank you for all the countless people you've probably helped, one-on-one and with podcasts like this and organizations like GenSpect, gosh knows how many lives you've saved,
Yeah.
So
We can ask Gosh about how many specifically when we are passed on to the land of Gosh.
Yeah, good old Gosh. I don't know why I said Gosh instead of God, but
That was incredibly innocent and wholesome of you. Gosh knows.
Gosh knows. Yeah. I must give that to a character sometime.
Well, your conduct was quite tame here then, with all the
good.
goshing. Shall we let it be here, Stella? What do you think?
Yeah. Thanks
Well,
very much,
Graham.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you. And I'm sorry I was a little bit late.
That's all right. Thank you. Take good care.
See you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being part of our listener community. Your financial support helps to make all of this possible.
For more ways to support the show, please follow us on social media, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and comment on our episodes, and of course, spread the word about joining the paid community and all the exclusive content you can find there.
And for more information, please visit widerlenspod.com.